Let's start it
That's,
different. That's
that's
a happy
landing.
sight.
That's landing or takeoff.
That's landing. That's a happy sight. That's a happy sight. You know how it
Yes.
is. You have to break. You're gonna be like, yeah, welcome back. Be happy. Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Living Room. Thank you so much for joining us today on this very special day. It's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers across the. You see, yeah. You boy, fresh man. But anyway, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers across the
I had to duck them kisses there.
across the region. Yeah, they look kind of funny when he was doing it.
I can tell you about them kisses in a minute. You know, right? Carry on.
All right,
Okay.
all right. Oh,
Okay.
oh.
Here we
Hey,
go.
hey, this is PG. This is PG. All right. Just saying. Anyway, happy Mother's Day to everyone across the region and wherever you are across the world. Happy Mother's Day to you. As I said before, this is the Living Room. This is a show where me, myself, Andre, and my good friends Philip and Mark, where we just have good Caribbean conversation. You're on the We Global platform. Welcome. If you haven't already, like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube as well. Hit share, get as many people into these conversations as we can. We just love to go around the region, have a chat about whatever, and invite a whole bunch of people into our living room where we can just have those conversations. And you guys in the audience are also part of our conversations as well. You're like our, depending on how many people we have on a given day, you're our additional guests. So we do that. How we doing, fellas? How was the wait, before we even do that, happy birthday, gentlemen. I mean, during the break, both of you celebrated your birthdays, you know. So
Let's forget how close our birthdays are.
So
Yeah,
happy
man.
birthday, guys.
Yeah, man. Thank you. We appreciate that. We
No,
appreciate
no
that.
problem. You're getting up there and thing, you know.
Don't worry about
But
it. You'll
don't
get
worry
there,
about it. No. Well, Philip is the baby. Philip is toddler. Philip no
What?
toddler. So.
Don't feel like a toddler.
Yeah, but happy birthday, gentlemen. I hope you guys had an enjoyable birthday. Hope it was well spent.
Yeah, man. Day off, relaxing, doing nothing. Why not? Of course.
Nothing as in like nothing at all.
Nothing, man. I did absolutely nothing. Stayed home, talked to family and friends around the world, and that was it for me. I happy
good.
with that. I happy with that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
man.
good. Phil, how you enjoy your birthday?
Well, I took the entire week off. Actually,
What?
And I had a. And as you know, there's the first time I took a week off of Dong since
Listen,
2020 sometime.
to everybody, Philip don't take weeks off, right? Philip's take a day here and there, all that kind of stuff. So for a full week off, but a week off, and did you do any work at all?
When you say work, what do you mean?
What
Work,
Work related to my job
semantics,
or
no,
other
semantics.
other?
Work related to your job.
No, I didn't.
You did. Oops. Whoa, well done.
I did other
man.
stuff,
Good,
of
good.
course. Yeah. Did some
Was the other stuff? Was the other stuff?
Well, to be honest, I had a nice opportunity to slip over within guidelines and restrictions and all that.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
We
Into-
assume that you get.
Yes, into Belfast.
Oh yes,
Which is-
yes.
yeah,
It's like
which
going
is
home
where-
for
Thank
you.
you, Nicole.
It is like a second home. We lived there for 9 years. Both kids born there.
Yeah, man.
And just went over to see a good friend get married. It was a good time. And it was really good to just catch up with people I haven't seen for a long time.
Wow.
Good.
was nice.
That's good. And both kids born there, as you say, and people trust me. The funniest thing ever is two young black children with Irish accents. It is hilarious. I just it is the most hilarious thing you will ever see. Every time I see it, I'm like, what? This just sounds wrong. And then two parents with straight Bajan accents. And
Yeah.
it's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
How did
But
that
that's
happen?
good, man. Hey, Didi. Happy Mother's Day to you too, Didi.
Yeah.
I said to you too as if he's saying to me, but no, happy Mother's Day to you.
Yeah, let us know what you're doing today, Didi. You know, you're going out. Anything special planned?
Indeed,
Oh, thanks,
Bernadette, how you
Bernadette.
doing?
Thank you, Bernadette. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
So you went to Belfast. Belfast has some trouble recently, though.
Yeah, man.
Literally, as I said, we lived there, and if I could think back to 2012 was when there was significant trouble. It was, I don't know if you remember that in the news.
I
That's when there
remember
was an issue with the flags
The flags,
because they decided that there was a condition the
Hey,
flag would
mate.
not be raised 24/7, and certain parts of the community, had a big issue with that. But if you live there, you do not recognize it unless you happen to be near what are called the peace walls, and those are sort of dividers of the two sides of the
That's where the
community.
action be happening.
And that's where the action happens. So it's really in very isolated areas where you'd find trouble. But honestly, Belfast is a great, as they say, a great wee country.
Yeah.
Great
You know?
country.
Yeah, man.
man.
I've been to Belfast a
Full of
few times
sheep,
with it.
full of cows, full of fresh.
You sound like you had a real good time, huh?
You
I
sound like you want to
enjoyed
go back. You
enjoyed it.
rekindled when you went back over there, man. You sound like you want to leave Manchester and head back over.
That's a discussion to be had.
Ooh,
Oh, Lord.
ooh.
Let's not go there on
I
Mother's
don't
Day.
want to be part of that discussion.
Let's not go there on Mother's Day. Let's
It has a lot going for it. But so
Oh,
does
Lord.
Manchester.
Oh, Lord. Okay. We can leave.
We gotta follow up that conversation clearly.
You understand? Hey, Andrea. Definitely.
Yeah, man. So can I give you a shout out, Barrow? I saw the latest episode, man, of Before Tonight.
I even put a starring role for your people.
Well, it is funny because I had a very strongly worded email from we say was writing from the Reviving Efforts Deemed Mandatory Against Negativity Association
What?
or Red Man Association.
Red Man Association. I didn't even. They got a name. Oh Lord! I put it.
You will never know. You will never know.
I was there.
That's hush hush, Phil. That's hush hush.
As I was preparing for the show today, I was thinking, oh, what I could call this. So I've gone for Reviving Efforts Deemed Mandatory Against Negativity Association. So I have a strongly worded email from the Red Man Association.
Send it to me, man. Send it to me.
My members are not happy.
They're not happy?
No, not at all. Not at all. You know. And as a sole representative on this panel, as you can see.
Clearly.
Yeah. I have to just voice some concerns from the guys. But great show, man. Great show.
Thank you. Yeah, I must admit, I rewrite that section about 4 times. I was like, ooh. I ain't sure how this can go down. But I thought it fit well with the wider people probably wondering where was I going with this. But I think, that whole conversation in St. Lucia and stuff was interesting regarding skin color and colorism and that kind of stuff. But it was good, but that's all right. All in just, I nearly put your picture in there, when I say hi, Red Man friends, I had you in right until when I saved it. Right until I export, I was like, let me take out Garvin.
I am everybody's token Red Man friend, man.
He's my friend. Look, for anybody who hasn't seen it as
don't
yet,
see the show.
If you can, Before Tonight is a show where I kind of take a slightly different look at things that going on across the region. A little bit of laugh, a little bit of humor, even while we're looking at some serious issues as well. And the whole thing about the Red Man in the Caribbean was a little something that I dealt with.
I don't know what Red Man ever do you though.
Red Man never do me nothing. I good.
I should have got a few tunes about that.
Look, I was simply feeling the pulse of the people, It's not don't take it personal. I just feeling the pulse of how the average character, it's just one of them things, I
can leave you to the comments on that one. I'm hoping the comments will come to my defense today as a proud man of the Red Man Association.
Red Man. Wait, tell me your name again. I like that.
Reviving Efforts Deemed Mandatory Against Negativity. Tell me what I want to take that up today.
I was like, you find that one? It's a good one. I like it.
Reviving Efforts Deemed Mandatory Against Negativity.
Yeah, man. We gotta step up our efforts against this here. No, this is not good enough. Anyhow,
I like that. But wait, one thing I was gonna tell you, I see Barbados looking to get rid of some of this dress code nonsense that they got down there. And I know you had a serious experience with that.
Of course.
What happened with you again?
I rock up there today. That place on White Park Road that you just go to. What are you going to do there now? What are you going to do? I think I'm going to get some. Oh, it might be ID cards or something. And
Okay.
now you know me when I'm on holiday. I have on my short pants, or short
Slippers.
trousers for those of you in England here. My slippers, cause I gotta get a little tan when I'm down there.
Did he trying to stay a cougar? She said, oh, okay.
Okay.
Keep-
All right.
Yeah. She's trying to say.
I
Anyhow,
see you roaring there. I see you roaring. Okay.
Interesting.
anyhow, a gentleman accosted me at the door to make can't come in here dressed so man look. Boy look. It was one of them days when my wife had to hold me back. Because I can't believe that we still getting on with this nonsense in the 21st century, but somebody can't turn up at a building and I reckon I was dressed decent enough. Come on, man.
I nearly missed a flight like that one time home. Yeah, I had to drop off something from my mom when I went home. I had to drop it off at they call it the courts, but the building it's just the offices, even though it's probably office of the court. It wasn't going into court or anything like that. I had on a decent shorts, decent, I had on polo neck shirt, that kind of stuff. Good pairs. All I needed to do was go and drop off a piece of paper.
And I'm like, hey, you can't come in here, so.
I pushed the door going in to drop off this thing because she had to fill out a form. The man looked at me and asked me, where you going?
You think you guys?
I'm just going to drop this off. Man told me, no, you can't come in here like that.
So, man. You can't come in here, so.
So I started to look at myself. I was like,
Yeah, what's wrong with me?
and I had to catch my flight later to come back, I like, huh?
Raw.
I was like, what? But yeah, no, you don't go on short pants. You can't come in here with that. And I was like, but I just dropping this off. I don't need to do
You
it.
hear what I tell you?
Pretty much that's what the man tell me. And then I
I know.
and then I asked, man, if he had a pump shirt.
You register your back. Get out.
Right man showing your right legs. Anyhow. So then I was like, all right, let me just, cause you know me. I try to keep calm in these situations.
I know you had hot now. I know you had hot.
So I like, all right, but let me keep calm because I just want to drop off this thing. So I have on it. So I asked the guy, okay, can you drive? Man, no, ain't got nothing to do with me.
You gotta go come back tomorrow, man. Go home, put on some clothes and come back.
But no, my flight was in the evening. I had to drive back to St. Philip.
I don't care about that.
Serious?
And drive back to town, drive back to Green
What part road?
and then to drop off the thing.
You had to
Same
do
man
that,
see me.
seriously?
Same man see me at the door. I was in there for 20 seconds.
Nah, man, that's
I'm serious. I was in there for 20 seconds.
Ridiculous nonsense. Honestly.
And then I
you
had
could
to go
even
home.
ask you to drop it off for you.
By asking the man tell me ain't got nothing to do with he. No, not he.
You got to do it.
Ain't got nothing to do with he.
She my mother? You ain't gotta do
Refused
me.
to
You never do
take
me.
I was in the building
What?
for less than 20 seconds. I had to drive half hour back at the road, half hour back down. It's a traffic now. Good thing I went early. I went fairly early first thing in the morning.
You could have turned around.
You understand? And do that. So when I saw it, I was like, thank the Lord. And I show across the Caribbean. Guys in the comments, y'all could tell me. They got this nonsense with the dress codes and that kind of stuff for public buildings right across the region too. I actually saw people sharing the letter, the Barbados letter in Trinidad and in St. Vincent and different places, sharing it to say, please bring this measure here. But I would tell you, it just...
I tell you, I almost body slam that girl that day because
Wow.
I was not having it.
If you head get hot,
I was not having it.
it had to be hot.
I'm a very peaceful guy, so I was like, come on now, man. This is foolishness.
No, man. I got another one. I can
Almost
tell
made
when
you
I
take
tell
off
when
your
later.
clothes.
I almost went full red.
You know who it is? You know who it is? Man, I can tell when another one later too. I got another one. I got all stories. We're going to these buildings at Barbados, man.
But yeah, the thing is, they're there for a reason. I'm pretty sure whenever you see these SAR laws, at some point in time, it was popular for people to turn out. Like I know we always had issues with tourists coming in places just straight off the beach, bareback, that sort of thing.
Them don't get turned away.
Nah.
Okay.
Nah.
Although I could be wrong, because although I think they had an issue in Holton one time where a tourist
There has
was
been,
going
yeah.
court with his short pants.
Yeah.
And he tell all kind of things, but I can't remember how it get resolved. I could vaguely remember.
Yeah,
that
sometimes
a
you
few years
do,
ago.
but I just think it is there because of a few historical cases of people turn up inappropriately dressed.
Man, look,
right? However you want to think inappropriate is.
look,
You know?
look.
I know it's
Anyhow,
just rigorously enforced without thought.
the whole dress thing at home is got all true. Look, I got so much stories that I can give on here from
Yeah,
not
yo,
being
man.
able to, from not being in pulpit and not going to study, all kind of thing I could give.
Hey.
Get up and they don't going to study. What nonsense you talking about? All kind of foolishness, man. Look,
Yeah.
but anyhow, I'm glad to see progress. I sure, my view on it is that the amount of people that might be inappropriately dressed, and to me, inappropriate could be anything, because that's a catch-all
Yeah.
for everything. But most, because on that day I was inappropriately dressed, so you're including me in there too. But I'm
Yes.
sure the few people that might go in there so with some weird outfits or what have you are
Was
very,
weird?
very few. I know it was weird. Whatever weird is.
Okay.
It would be very, very few. Like if you let Mark and go with your pom pom shirts according to Marika, that is different.
Yeah, that's pushing it.
You know,
I'll pull
that
it.
is different. You know. You're shot in there, boy.
When ain't no wicked move today, boy. Lord have mercy.
Hey, this must happen when you get a week off and we catching up, right? It's
Yeah,
we just do it on camera, so look, there's a window into we world. That's what we call it, the living room.
That's just what it is, my friend.
That is what it is, exactly. You know, so that's what we do. But I'm glad to see that changing. I hope the whole region changed that nonsense too.
It can't happen before time. So
You know.
mothers, man, mothers. You know,
Mothers
Mother's Day, huh?
Mother's Day.
It's funny because we grew up knowing that this is such a significant day across the region, and mothers are pampered today, man. You know, taken out, showered with gifts and the like. And I mean, I was reflecting on my own mom, and thinking, wow, I haven't seen my mom in more than 10 years now, actually. So it's been a long time. And but you know,
change that.
well, I would, you know, I would. The last time I saw my mom was it's actually more than 10. It was 2009 in New York, and but I think as I was thinking about it, I kind of felt as though my journey was somewhat representative of Caribbean people, where you know, sometimes our parents go in different corners of the world. Sometimes we connect with them, and sometimes we don't. Yeah. And sometimes things can happen in that relationship. So it's interesting how we view our mothers, in particular in the Caribbean, because I see them as the foundation of our society. Actually, mothers are us, and in putting that to people on our page, you know, we just asked some people to say what would they like to say about mom, you know, and their mom, and I think when I saw what Karen was saying in this particular letter that she would write to her mom, first child, only daughter, and she was a teenager, her mom, and my mom was a teenager too. And you know, when you look back and you think, now how sometimes we look on and see in our adult life young people who are pregnant and we form views without realizing actually, well, that was you one time. Actually. So it was great to see Karen honoring her mom in this way. So Karen, if you are there in the chat, thank you for writing dear mom. And I think there was another one as well that I wanted to feature, Anthea, who, you know, 7 children and
Greatest
never
of all
going
time.
Yeah, man, greatest of all time. And these are the kind of sentiments that we reserve for our mothers, and rightfully so, because they leave far-reaching legacies for all of us across our families and across the region. So we're going to talk about mothers.
We're going to talk about mothers
and their role and how they've influenced us.
Indeed. So we're going to do that. We're going to get to that conversation. And for that, we're going to bring in Kieran from Barbados, but she lives in the US. And then we're also going to bring in Sophie from Jamaica, who lives here in the UK. We got another guest who's potentially coming from Guyana as well, Natasha, having a few technical difficulties, but hopefully before the show is finished, she'll get those sorted out. I'm talking to her on the side as well. We can get that done. So let's do that. Let's bring them into this conversation, you know. Perhaps they're too happy that the dress code thing changing in the Caribbean as well.
Looking at them, they would not have a problem.
No, boy.
They'll walk straight in.
Yeah, I got turned back from getting my ID because
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that.
You did?
I did.
Just
No.
just explain the dress code if you could.
Yeah. PG.
No, I went to get a Barbados ID, and I had a shirt that they said it was too exposed at the time.
What?
A strappy top?
No, it was a little low, similar to the dress I'm wearing. You know, maybe off the shoulder. It said nope. My ID taken in that, I had to go back.
But how did you take the news that you couldn't go into the building?
You know, I was in the building. It was just to take the ID. So
Or to take the picture?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But you get in the building.
Yeah, I got in.
Oh, okay. Well, you were good then. Mark didn't even get in the building. I ain't sure what he was wearing. You know what? Mark didn't even get in the building. How you doing, Sophie?
I'm great, thank you. I'm all right.
You're doing excellent. That's good.
I can't imagine that you would have those type of issues, Sophie, with turning up and being turned away.
Never.
I can't say I have. I've never had that issue before, though.
Jesus, so
I
polished.
think I'm always appropriately dressed.
Hey.
Listen,
That's the
I never
That's
said I
the
was
word.
inappropriately dressed.
Right. Turns out you were, Mark.
Clearly you weren't.
That is the government of Barbados position.
You should have read the website before leaving home.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. Bet you had on sandals too. Cover your toes, man.
Yeah.
Cover your toes.
Now
Want some
listen,
socks.
you know when you live in this place where you hardly see the sun on a good day. When you're in the Caribbean, come on,
Go
man.
crazy.
Full
Yeah.
red.
Yeah.
Full red every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. But anyway, welcome, guys.
Yes, it's great. It's great to have you both. Happy Mother's Day.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Happy
First thing.
Mother's Day.
And how's your day been so far, Karen?
So far, so good. I got breakfast and dinner made. So
Hey,
so far,
hey.
so good. I don't know about the boys though. They are away at college and they're creeping in their messages slowly because they sleep till whatever time. So
So wait, you think they forget? They didn't forget, I hope.
no, I heard I have a special video coming. So
Okay. Wait patiently for that.
Okay.
I'm
They're
waiting. I'm waiting.
They're coming.
So you had breakfast. You had dinner. You might get a late supper as well.
You never know.
We'll see.
Bit of wine, a bit of cheese, some olives. I can see that happening. Yeah.
All right. So.
I'm not too sure about that, but we'll see.
Easy there, Tiger. Easy there.
I don't know where he's going, but anyway.
I ain't leaving that one.
Sophie, how is your Mother's Day been so far?
Because it's
So
not
in the
Mother's
UK.
Day here.
Here
It's
in
nothing
UK.
special.
Oh, yes,
to
that's
be
right.
honest, it's just another day. Yeah,
Yes.
because it's not Mother's Day in the UK. So for me, it's the same old same. I had to get up and make my own breakfast and make the dinner.
Really?
What a
Really?
shame.
Well, a certain cohabitant of
Oh,
mine.
a certain what?
Let's hear this. Let's hear this.
What?
Put
You
it
see,
big. Put
I
it
should
big.
go off the camera for this.
No,
but
no.
I don't want to be party. Anyway, carry on. Go on, Philip.
A certain person suggests that since we're in the UK and there's Mother's Day in March, but in Barbados there's Mother's Day in May, we should
Right.
have 2 Mother's Days.
And your response was?
It sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Make it happen.
But
That's where it ended. It sounds like a good idea.
I am not even commenting on that.
Mother's Day should be every day. Y'all should celebrate us every day.
Exactly, and that was my further response as well, Kerry. It is every day.
That was your response to?
So that,
I'm leaving it. I'm leaving
Great
it.
mayor.
Great
Yeah, but it's
man
good.
you are, Phil.
oh,
Sensible man. That's
Heaven knows me well.
wow. So look, I mean, we talk about celebrating mums, of course. And I know for both of you, your mum. So, before we talk about your journey, it would be good to talk about your mum actually. And Karen, you put this on the Facebook page, and I thought it was quite inspiring actually. Tell us a little bit about your mom and your experience with her.
So my mom was also a young mom, 20 years old when I came along, and pretty much raised me as a single mother. But the good thing is we grew up with our grandparents, so I had, my mom had that support also. But she was young, and we had our challenges. We had, quite a challenging relationship.
What does that mean? Come on.
When you hear challenging a head nodding.
That's a fancy word.
Not sure if I should go there.
It sounds like maybe your relationship with your mom, Mark, based on the fact that you haven't seen her in 9 years, 10 years.
My relationship with my mom is one of those that. Anyway, we can talk about that. But
that's a different show.
That's a different show. That's a different show.
Yeah, we had a lot of challenges, but the one thing that you say spare the rod and spoil the child, and my mother never spared that rod. she was heavy on that rod with me.
Okay. So hang on. Okay. Well, hang on. What is that? So you had a little bit of a streak in you when you was younger then?
No, I did not.
No, listen. Caribbean mothers don't just share licks for nothing.
Sometimes you never know.
We try to say what Carrie and Mark. We really try to say.
They don't share licks for nothing, but some of them beat you for everything.
This is true.
The slightest thing, you get home late from school because the bus didn't come, so you get beaten. You go to the sea to collect fish, and the boats didn't come in, and you didn't come home you didn't come home, but you get beaten. You get beaten for everything. So that was my childhood, and my mom. My mom. I think she said she did the best she knew how.
Yeah.
It took me years, many years to accept that. That was what she knew, and it was a hard. It was hard to accept that, but I did.
Wow.
And did that acceptance come once you had children and saw, there are challenges, or?
No, even before that.
Okay.
It's something I worked on over the years with my mom, and as she became, my mom, God rest her soul, she died in 2015. And as she got older, and she got sicker, and I had. It wasn't even an option of whether I would be there for my mom. That never crossed my mind. So, in pretty much taking care of her, you have to just put everything aside and just for myself.
I'm not praying into all your business, but you're your only child, or you had other?
I have a sister, and I have other siblings from my father, but only me and my sister from my mom.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. You're on mute, Dre.
My dearest friend Sophia is so beautiful. Wow. Okay. Child of
No, it was there saying that we could come back to that a little bit later. Could be interesting to see how that perhaps inform your own parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let's say I never beat my kids, not even one.
Wow.
Never.
Okay.
Wow.
No, that's interesting. That's definitely interesting to see.
The rod is a very interesting one, though. But we'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that for sure. And Sophie, I think it's really important to ask you the same question, because I noticed that you also put your stance about your mom on the page as well. Tell us about this.
Because if you breathe, you get a boss ass in Jamaica, as they would say. She was so kind. Yes, my mother was. She's quite short, like myself, But I always say to myself that because of her stature, whatever, because she's so short, she speaks so loudly, and it brings this fear over you, you know.
Wow.
But yes, we I've got two other siblings, a brother and a sister. A single mother she was, but she did her best. You know, we had a challenging life, as Karen said. It wasn't always easy, but she did what she could. You know, we all went to high school. We were all graduated. She was very stern, especially when it comes to studying. It was all about book work and like for the girls, me and my other sister, about cooking and cleaning and making sure we get good husbands and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was challenging time for us. Yeah.
And where in Jamaica do you guys grow up?
I was afraid of my mom. I remember coming from high school one evening. I remember this so clearly. And I was walking with a boy, and there's two ways to get to our house. There's a top road and a bottom road. I did not see my mother, and I was going to go down the bottom road with this guy because I could get to my house from the bottom road, and all I could hear was top road. I didn't even bother to look. I didn't even bother to look. I just go like, I just go to the other side.
Top road it is.
Top road it is.
That was the sort of mother I had. She would just appear from nowhere. I don't know whether she had eyes in the back of her head or whatever. But that's her. Yeah, but yeah, it was challenging. But I'm happy. I don't regret the way I was brought up. Yeah, so it has made a great impact on my life, to be honest. I'm disciplined, and I tend to grow my children in the similar manner.
Wow.
Yeah, so hats off to mama.
That's quite a good perspective there, Sophia, because Karen was saying, well, she also had that real stern, rod-like upbringing. You had the same thing, but you said you raised your children in the same way. So,
oh God, yes.
Was that any
I don't know
point
anything
in time,
different.
Okay, but was there any point in time, even before you had children, that you thought this isn't fair, this isn't right?
Yes, I remember having my eldest, Shyla, and then my mom came to the UK. She was only probably about 6 months old, and I remember saying to my mom, I would never hit my child, and I'll never shout at her the way you shouted at me, but that quickly changed. By the time she was 13, I was shouting, swearing.
All in love.
It was like I could remember having the conversation with my mom. The ignorance of not knowing what's ahead.
But you ever watch these shows, like Super Nanny? You ever saw it? The Naughty Step. And there's another thing that she did. I actually tried it once. Oh, and it worked. I was surprised at it. Not in Naughty Step. We don't do that. We never do Naughty Step. Why? but this one worked really well. Having conversation, and talking about feelings. I found that actually worked really well. Like my two kids, my daughter is 12, my son is 8. And there's a couple of years ago, they were arguing about a certain toy. I just brought them together and had a conversation about it. How does it make you feel when he says you can't have his car? And she was able to express that. Well, I felt a bit sad and hurt by that. And then I asked him, how does it make you feel that your sister feels sad and hurt? And I know it was quite engaging, but it took a lot of time.
I was just going to say
and that's a challenge. When you do it,
my mother ain't had no kind of time with that kind of nonsense.
No.
A hard day's work at the hospital and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
No. Got no time with that. Thumb across your head. Don't do that again.
Yeah,
move on.
Exactly.
But it also helps you to know that as well that sometimes you're a product of the generation before. We could be talking about our moms, but trust me, our parents probably got even worse stories than us talking about our grandparents. The grandmothers that we know, just as my children would probably say, in the parents that our parents know.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? So there's very much that's in there. So Phil, you had the benefit of watching enough Super Nanny and different things to help inform you and that kind of thing. Although I sure you never really had a lot of licks when you were young.
Nah, I can't say it. I can't. I just cannot picture it. Honestly.
Piano playing long.
Absolutely.
He was right.
Absolutely.
He's a good boy.
That chord is not right.
But that's what it is. Sometimes you are a product of that thing. So even for you, Sophie, that's interesting to hear you say, because there was a little yes, you say the naivety and not showing what's coming and dealing with a teenager, but then there's a little bit that was handed down as well that you may have tried to course correct, but a little bit is in there as well. Just want to welcome Natasha from Guyana. How you doing, Natasha?
Hey.
Welcome. I know you had a few technicals, but glad to have you in now.
Absolutely. Welcome, Natasha. It's great to have you. And we're talking about mums and your mum, and in fact, we've got your mum here as well. At least your thoughts about your mum.
Oh, we can't hear Natasha though. They're just
just realizing.
We're not here. You just need to make sure you're using the right microphone there,
Natasha, check your mic
in the settings, because we're not hearing you there at all.
The hair looks good though.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, you alright? Because I drinking the wine, you on the water, but I feel it's the other way around.
I'm not so sure what he's drinking.
No, still not hearing you. Still not hearing you, Natasha. Not sure what's happening there.
Whoa.
Let me see. Can we?
She can hear us. I just wanted to test if she can hear us. Oh, she can. Yeah.
Yeah, she heard your lovely compliment about the hair, man. Don't worry about it.
I'm not seeing her. Okay, let's move on from there. We'll come back to Natasha in a bit.
Yeah. So it's true where we take our influence and how we structure the way that we are going to raise our children is rooted right back there in mum and the experiences. You hear me talk about my experience. My experience with my mum was I lived with my mom for the first 8 years of my life, and I think the psychologists and all the people who study children will tell you those are the years. Those are the years that you really need to make sure you're baking in what that child is going to become. And for me, I spent a lot of time with my mother in those first 8 years, and I really feel that they have shaped the man that I've become. And even though in my adult life we've kind of drifted apart, that has not changed the foundation. It hasn't changed anything. It is the things that I saw in my mom are all still there, and I still remember all of them very, very, very candidly as well. And no doubt you're all the same. So if we talk a little bit about your early years as you first became a mom, because I saw, Karen, that you let's see if I can find it here. You these photos mean a lot. We all take them when the kids come along, but there's a different experience for a mother compared to what I see through the eyes of a father. That experience in the early years. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I don't even know what ages they were. This first picture, the picture on my left was taken on a Mother's Day, going to church. And we just got dressed. We would always get dressed for church when they were younger. Just loving on them as like kids, getting dressed for the church.
That's
but
nice.
The picture on the right now, so I was not there for this picture. Actually, I was think it was a privilege for me where I we left around '86 to come to New York, and
Mm-hmm.
I I asked my mom for me to stay one more year to finish high school in Barbados, and I stayed with my cousin Jenny, who is only 10 years older than me, but was like a mother figure for that year that I was
Oh,
there.
okay.
And every year from the time my kids were 2 years, 2 and 3, they went back to Barbados for the entire summer
Oh, wow.
without me, without me
To work in the fields. That's
to
good.
work in the fields. Whatever my cousins, her husband was doing, they were right there along with him. So that, I'm not sure what they were doing, but they were working hard, as you can see.
Yeah, they look that way.
They got involved, and they never had an issue with leaving me. It would always be for the entire summer.
Mm-hmm.
I would send them down, and because I felt that it was important for them to know their culture, to know where I came from, And they would go for the entire summer. And my cousin had a daughter who I raised, actually, and she would help to take care of them. So they got to experience all things Barbados, and it was wonderful raising them, and it was good for me as a mother to get a little break, during that 2 months, that 2 month period. I appreciated that as a mother. Some parents say, "Oh, I could never send my child for so long." Like, oh,
Wow.
you had the chance, and I never had to worry about, if they were being taken care of. It never crossed my mind one time, if they were going to be taken care of. So I love that opportunity, and they never resented me for it. They actually appreciated going away and experiencing. They went to camp, they went to the beach, they learned to swim in the sea. And,
It's a big thing, man.
Big thing. And so they loved it. Yeah.
But do you think that you would have responded differently had you had 2 girls as opposed to 2 boys?
Maybe, because everyone tells me.
Really?
Everyone.
That is interesting.
I could tell you, obviously Mother Days, but as far as 2 girls, my girls only went home by themselves to Barbados last year before for the first time, right? Because I refused. I was like, I don't know. And your story is interesting, right? Because, and I guess this is how, again, just thinking back to my mother and the sacrifices she would have made. I was born here in the UK. But she would have sent me back to Barbados at 18 months because for her, that was the best place for me to grow up as opposed to be here in London. I have no clue. With 2 daughters now, I have no clue, A, how she made that decision, and B, how she was able to do it. But it was her, my aunt, a fantastic woman, Aunt Cecile, may she rest in peace. But just making that decision just showed the sacrifice that she was willing to make ensure that I had the best education, the best upbringing, what she saw in London. She didn't want her child to grow up in it, and she wanted me to grow up and get the foundation in the region. So it's just that kind of sacrifice as well that she was willing to make that you see that mom's making. And as a father, I could tell you, sending home my 2 daughters even for a holiday, I like, no way.
I think it will be much different with girls.
I can imagine.
There are a lot of things to consider, and which can happen to boys also, but
but you think a lot more when you got 2 girls.
Girls,
Absolutely.
Or 1.
Well, we're talking about 2. Well, that is true.
Yeah.
Shall we try and see if we can get Tasha in?
Yeah, let's try Tasha. We can barely hear you. You're very low. No, it's still not there 100%. It can barely hear you. Barely hear you. I don't know if you have your mic you can turn up or what have you. But let's continue on and let's see how we can do that.
All right, so Sophie, let's talk again about your journey also. 2 girls, Tell us about the early years of how it started for you and the challenges.
the white top, which is that says honey, and Shyla, the one with the purple hair. So Shyla was my eldest. Came to the UK from Jamaica, started a family. Everything was nice and fine, going nicely. Then about 4 years after, Napolis came. Napolis proved to be a challenge with our underlying health issues. That caused a lot of stress on me. I was very stressed. She was always in the hospital. My marriage broke up because of the underlying health issues that I had with Napolis. It was a very stressful period. It was like a touch and go moment, you know. It was, and it had a massive impact on our marriage, and the marriage ended, and I became a single mother dealing with a child with an underlying illness and a toddler. So it was quite hard, but at one point I made the decision that I would go back home. But then the treatment options here were the ones that made me decided to stay. And I'm glad I stayed because I overcame my challenges and everything. So yeah. So the picture with the Christmas tree, that was us getting over to a point where I could afford to take them for their first all-inclusive holiday. So that was quite an important time for me. Yes. So
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, I've had a challenging time with my girls. Yes.
Well,
but I'm proud of them.
No, that's awesome. And you know that point you made there about those challenges that can really bring tension. You know, our first son was born at 31 weeks, and you don't, you know, as a father, I look at that, I think about it. You know, it has its impact and its effect, but it's so different for my wife and what she experiences. The things that I think about or don't think about, you know, she's long embedded into. And even though we might be sharing the same experience of a child born at the same time, the experiences diverge.
Different,
you know. And I can tell you, even to this day, you know, Kylie's 18 in a few weeks. Even to this day, the experiences are still different because
very much so.
The mother sees,
you're right.
Sees and feels it completely differently.
You are totally correct, because like I had a conversation with my ex-husband like a couple of months ago, and I was, you know, I revisited the story and what happened, and I said to him, how did you think I felt when you decided to leave at a time when I needed you the most, you know? And he was like, he didn't realize, he was immature. Those are those, you know, we're coming from different places, as you say. So where I am as a mother, it's a different experience for him as a father, but he couldn't handle it because it was quite a stressful time. It was. I remember living at the hospital. I was at the hospital. Like this week, my daughter would be well. Next week, she would be out. The following week, by any means, you know, she's going to be in. So it was like always in and out the hospital. I'm a nurse, so I'm always at a hospital. So from one hospital to the next. So that's it. And it was quite a challenging period. And it was even more challenging because he left. I am not from the UK. I've got no family here. So with two young girls, two kids, you know, the single mother, no family in the UK, having to depend on childminders and friends, you know, it was quite tough. Yeah.
Wow.
It was quite tough. But you know what?
No, go ahead.
You know what? I embraced the challenges that I went through because, you know, by God's grace, I don't look like what I've been through. It's made me a better person. I've progressed in my career as well. So I didn't sit down and like feel sorry for myself and say, oh, I'm a single mother. I've got a child with an underlying health issue. Oh, my life is over. It's ended. No, I pushed. And I think growing up in Jamaica, it has given me that strength to be like a strong Black woman, to know that, you know, the only way I can move forward is by moving forward and not like
Speak,
sitting
sister.
back and thinking, oh,
Indeed.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like sitting back and feeling sorry for myself. I had to just find my strength and
That's the
move
Caribbean
forward.
mother, man.
And I've moved forward.
Absolutely.
Yes, I had to push. I remember when my husband left, I wasn't even driving because I used to be so totally dependent on him. I had to go learn to drive myself now. You know what I mean? So if I can inspire anyone, I hope this story can. So, you know, don't just sit down and feel sorry for yourself. Just push on. You've got
Push
it
on.
within you to fight and achieve
on.
what you want. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, go for it. Don't feel sorry for yourself. And don't let other people feel sorry for you either. Just fight for what you want and go forward.
Indeed.
Sure.
Natasha, you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah. Are you hearing me now?
There we go. Welcome, Natasha.
Here. Good.
Come on. Welcome to the conversation. How are you?
I'm good.
You're good. How are things in Guyana?
Well, Guyanese are just living their life, I can tell you. They're
What,
just going on.
the COVID protocols not too restrictive? Anything like
It's following the guidelines that's a challenge. And I think that many people have not adapted to it because people have various theories about COVID, you know. Some people don't believe it's real. Some believe it's politically motivated, all of that. So it's really it needs adaptability. You got to adapt to the conditions, and some people are not ready for that. And some people just got to go about life because they just need and they have needs. And some people can stay home. You know, there is no stimulus here in Guyana, so some people have to get out there. Do what they gotta do.
And during this time, what's being a mother in Guyana like? What's that been like during this time?
It is pretty challenging. Primarily for mothers that are not economically can sustain themselves economically and being dependent. Some are at home. They don't work anywhere. I can tell you, I hear so many stories of women who at this time we find that in Guyana a lot of women are now turned into security service job. Out there, most of the security firms in Guyana are females. And because they have
Is that because of the time or?
Yes, they got to get back in the world of work, and for those who are not really qualified or really have a skill, so they have to find that means of sustaining themselves. So and so mothers have their own challenges of having to leave sometimes children to go out there and work. That's one of our challenges.
Interesting. I'm gonna give you opportunity. Well, I don't even know if I should ask this question, right? God, men asking these kind of questions.
Well, you asking these sort of questions. You asking it. You asking it.
No, but Natasha, because I listening to Sophie's story there just now, and I would imagine it is, you know, it rings true with probably a lot of West Indian women at home and abroad. As far as being a single mother, perhaps being, you know, at a time when they needed their partners most, the person disappeared and stuff. And I know you're past that church, so you see this kind of stuff quite a bit. What? I don't even know if I should ask, but we can't be men. We can't be men, and it answers in the context of motherhood. The Caribbean men. What wrong with me?
What is wrong?
And that's me. That's just me being honest. And look, when we talk to the three of us, that's the kind of conversations we be having. So we're in the living room. So we got 3 ladies and 3 mothers, and it was Sophie's experience there just really re-triggered that question again. A conversation that we've had quite a number of times. I mean, what's the experience like in Guyana where that's concerned?
It's no different over here.
Okay.
And I want to say this personally because for me, my ex-husband was present physically in the home, but still absent.
Mm.
And I think that is more painful.
Oh yeah.
That you're there, but yet not there.
Yeah.
You're not there emotionally. You're not there spending quality time. You're not there financially, and so when you, that woman, that mother, have to do everything and navigate and make decisions. I don't know what it is with our Caribbean men. I don't know if we need resocialization of our men, because the context of a Caribbean man sometimes is just that, oh, you're the man in the house, and if you provide a shelter, and maybe if you put some food on the table, that is fatherhood. The basic food, clothing, shelter. Like, you have done your job, and so there is great absenteeism. Sometimes even when the man is present, he's still not there. He's not there for those important moments of children's life, and that was draining for me. And I can remember I went back to school at age 32. I had to go out there and I to qualify myself. So um, being a dependent, this whole socialization, I want to say to us, the Caribbean women, those of us right here in Guyana, it's that this is a time to just get up and take care of you and empower yourself. We have a high level of domestic violence. And most of those women, if you hear their stories, is that they wanted to leave, but they couldn't leave. They felt trapped. They couldn't afford a rent. How long will somebody house you? And I can remember when my ex-husband moved back into our home, because he had moved out. He went and he got this child, and then he came back into the home, and he was, and I had to flee. I had to leave that, because I thank God that at that point I was in a position that I could have paid my rent for myself. I literally, to save myself and my children, I had to escape that, get out of that house, that home that we had together, and the children were. I had to leave, and it was not easy. I was paying a rent of 250 US a month, and which is 50,000 Ghana dollars. Uh, and there are women who can't do that because they don't have the means.
Mm.
Some of them are on, below the minimum wage in Guyana right now is $70,000 a month, and that's nothing when you think about the $50,000 month rent, and you working for 70,000, and
Yeah.
you got school, and you got children to feed, and you got all of these things. So I would say that even, and I love that Sophie had that conversation, which she talked about asking him, because I asked that question, what did I do? Why you weren't there? And his response to me at the time was that he was on marijuana and the drugs took, and I said, well, Mary, I shortened marijuana. I said Mary was a better woman than me, and I could not compete with her, and I didn't want to compete with Mary, because Mary consumed him to that point, and he was there in the house yet not there. And that's the struggle of the Caribbean women, because we sometimes, and for me, we had 3 children, and I felt like I had a 4th child. I don't know if women can identify with that. I felt like this was a 4th child, and this 4th child was taking more than the 3 was taken from me. I'm happy that I'm out of that. I'm in a better place. I'm happy. I'm living life now.
Wow.
But I think that there needs to be conversation, starting with our boys, and men have to have these conversations, because when men have these conversations, they say that we are biased. But if it comes from another man, I think it will be better received as to your responsibility. And Caribbean men has also a mindset that if they and the woman are not together, then you get nothing for the children. Like, they don't hold their end up, as in, okay, it didn't work out with me and your mom, but just let me be the dad that I should be, and let me still take care, and let me and for me there was no support. We're not. I'm not responsible. It's your children now. Those are yeah. But I want to say to women that you can do it. And going back to school really empowered me. And when I went to university, man, that was my mind blowing. Like I don't know. And we hear this a lot that whenever women are educated, that they walk out and leave men. But you know what? That is enlightenment for a woman. Because when I went to university and I sat in classroom with people from all spectrums of life, and I was hearing things, I was like, this world is bigger than this little world that I thought it was. And why am I accepting mediocrity when excellence is out there? And so I want to see those men who are thinking, oh, because she's now empowered, she's leaving. Yes, you know why she leaves? Because she is now enlightened. She knows better. She now understands the value of who she is. And she would not sit and be subservient anymore. You understand?
Man, there's so much.
Life is not broken. We're not the mad black woman. This is not the diary of a mad black woman, but we are.
No, I'm with you.
Yes.
We weren't thinking that, we weren't thinking that, Natasha.
And I saw Avril's comment there where she said is not a Caribbean and okay, you might be right there. So as well in this context, though, I talking to us, so we talking with our people and that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm looking at with that concept. Of course, I know it happens in other cultures and what's not as well, where there are many single moms and stuff as well. But right now, I'm having a conversation with Caribbean moms, and that question was about Caribbean men in those relationships. So that's where that came.
Can I say something on
But there's
behalf
still
of?
some good men. There's still some very wonderful
plenty.
men.
You got three here. You got three. You got three here. Go, Mark.
I was going to say, thanks for just opening up that particular pathway, Natasha, because I'll be honest, right? My wife and I often have these conversations about, the life we're living together, and I'll be honest, it is just hard. Seriously, and I mean, as the kids have become older, the boys going to teenage years, man, I tell you something, man, it is hard work. Seriously. So whilst you say, Caribbean men disappear, sometimes I sit there and I think, oh God, man, this is so much work. And but it is. But you've got to be so committed to what you want to achieve together.
You have an intervention, you feel.
I don't need an intervention from what I'm saying is, you see, sometimes people aren't always realistic about how challenging it is to go up through life with a family and children. It is hard, man. It's really, really hard. And I can understand sometimes why men might just disappear from it. Because not everybody sorry, Ken, I think you're trying to come, but you're muted. Not everybody can carry that burden, because sometimes the weight is heavy. And I'm not making any excuses. I'm just saying, look, it can be very, very hard. Yeah. Go ahead, Karen. Sorry.
But it's just as hard for the woman. It's just as hard for the woman, because like for myself,
no, I'm not saying
I
it isn't.
wish he was there. I know you're not, but it's that is the same response I would get from him. It's just it isn't as easy as that.
But women have a way of dealing with hardship that men don't, I think. That is my honest view. That's my honest view.
We don't feel we have a choice but to deal with it. Whereas men make it a choice.
So on that point, is that the way they were brought up?
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't catch that.
Go ahead, Sophie.
I know, I was saying on that point, is it the way that the Caribbean men were brought up not to deal with certain things? As soon as they're faced with challenges, then they run away from it? Is that something that needs to be addressed?
I don't think that's a complete answer to the issue. I think that might be nurturing is probably part of it. The environment is probably part of it, and your life experience is part of it. So I think you can't just say it is because of X. It's probably because of X, Y, and Z. So it is not something that you can very easily define and say that's the reason why. And the Caribbean environment is highly, highly complex when it comes to understanding these particular matters.
Yeah,
but I'm not making excuses for men.
I see you better explain properly.
I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying sometimes you have to appreciate that we don't come from the same position oftentimes as our partners.
But I don't think so. I agree with that 100%. I don't, and I think in every culture, male, female deal with things differently. I think sometimes the miscommunication comes where no, we need to understand that we do deal with things differently.
Exactly.
And let's come to a position now how we can deal with it together.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that's the next point there. Because of course I know I deal with things different, than my wife and that Carol deal with things different than me. But it's about how can we communicate that to make sure that this situation is an experience for us both, coming at it at different ways. So now how can we deal with it together?
Very good point.
Forward. So I think that's where the conversation needs to go.
Yeah, and sorry, if you're willing to work it out together, that commitment to each other, try to figure it out together. It can't become one person's problem.
But
go ahead, Sophie.
Another issue is that Caribbean men don't like to communicate. They don't communicate their feelings. They if they communicate their feelings, they think that they're sissies.
I think of that problem.
They don't like being vulnerable. They don't like being vulnerable. Period.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Because even me,
or girly to wear their emotions on their sleeves, so they pretend to be these tough, robust sort of macho guy, and then internally they're breaking down, they're crashing inside. And because they don't want to show how vulnerable they are, then they disappear. They'll take the next step, which they can hide their vulnerability away from you. But if you're entering into a marriage, it's a commitment, and I think most females are ready right out from the day they say I do to commit to whatever they're faced with. But then there comes the challenges, and then the men just disappear.
I can see we can go.
And I have to be generalized because I've seen.
I understand the generalization.
And I think too that socialization of a woman, and it's Mother's Day, and in the Caribbean, there are a lot of men who are raised in single parents' home by women, like us, and how we raise them. And you talk about them not being vulnerable and not letting their feelings out, because most of the time they're socialized to suppress their feelings. You're the man. You got to be rough. You got to be hard. You got to be macho. They're not allowed to cry. They're not, to see a man crying is like some people interpret that as weakness. So we got to look at how we socialize our boys, and as they grow into men, we got to let them know it's okay to say that, I don't know what to do in this situation. And I want to sometimes I ask myself, what do men talk about when they reach together? Because
you don't want to know. You don't want to know. You don't want to know.
When are conversating, we will talk about those things that are bothering us. We find that, that group, that support from each other. And I'm hoping that men have that opportunity when they meet and they're having a drink or they're playing a game. What do you talk about? Do you have these conversations?
You see, hang on. You see, when I said earlier that we are on divergent paths, men don't do that. And I can make a generalization here and global, right? Women will get together, they will have a chat, and you will go emotional about the things that are worrying you, bothering you, and that you're concerned about. We don't go to that. Men don't go to that level. Okay, I can tell you now what men talk about when they get together. Sports, work, or women.
What about women?
Right? But when it comes to that layer that you are talking about, that's rare. That's not a Caribbean man thing.
No, that's not Caribbean.
men.
That's a global thing.
That's how we are. We don't punch down into that layer of this is how I'm feeling though.
And that's why so many men are depressed.
I
But
think
that
so,
could be
but
true. That could be very true. That could be very true
Yeah.
too.
I'll put a different spin on this.
And
Oh,
they're
okay,
more,
yeah.
they're
It might be
more-
controversial.
More
Go
men
for
are
it, Phil.
alcoholics.
Step back.
Feel you controversial? Anyway, carry on.
Well, my controversial isn't always controversial,
All right, go
but I
ahead.
do think men. I know the guys that I grew up around and so on. We talk a lot, including Mark and Andre. They even Philip. Oh, there.
Oh, you mean the women part, Kerry? No.
Now, the funny thing is, I find that I also talk to a lot of women, right? And it's not that I don't talk about feelings that much. But what I do talk a lot about is ideas, right? And solutions. I find the men that I get on very well with talk about ideas. And then when you dig into those ideas, why am I having this idea? What is the problem that deems this idea as a solution? Right. So you see, so with men, you have to talk backwards as opposed to forwards. Whereas women would tend to process and talk about feelings immediately, as they're going through the feelings, they're talking about them. But men, we need a little bit of time to process feelings, to get to some sort of initial solution or direction to thoughts, right?
Someday.
Yeah, some sort of idea that I could work
Hey,
with.
based
so
on
when-
Sophie face and Special face and Karen face. Hey,
But it just comes back to I am a
I
real
just tell you now.
believer.
Sophie gave me that Karen. I'm like,
But I find this is true all the time. So I'll give you an example. I call this fire and stone.
oh Lord.
The fire and stone example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some years ago,
Okay.
Miles, my son, he was when he was 6 or 7 months old, so he couldn't speak yet, but his hand wasn't moving. Right? His hand just was not moving, and I said, well, yeah, maybe he just slept on it or that sort of thing. Stone. Whereas Nicole looked at Miles and said, nope, something is wrong. We need to take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
Stone said, well, okay. If fire said we need to take him to the hospital, let's go. We go to the hospital, doctors say the same thing. Yeah, maybe he slept on it funny or something like that. And Stone said, there you go. Let's go back home. Fire said, no, something is wrong with this boy. Right? And so I decided to start quizzing the doctor, what could be some of the things that are wrong with him. Whereas Nicole is not in a state of mind to ask those sort of questions at that point in time because she's just concerned. Her emotions are something is wrong with my son. Right? Whereas for me, I've gotten to the stage of suppressed emotion a little bit and going towards logic. Let's see what are ways that we can investigate his hand. Have you tried doing an X-ray? Maybe we should have an X-ray. What do you think, doctor? And they went on to do the X-rays. They didn't find anything. Nicole remained adamant something is wrong. And then they went on to do an ultrasound eventually because we stood there and did not leave. And they found that he was developing fluid within his shoulder. And that there was an infection there. And if they had not treated that infection, his arm would have been limp.
Wow.
Right? So I just thought it was important to again show two different behaviors working together.
Yeah.
One who's able to communicate as Stone, and start to say, what can we do? What can we do? I cannot go back home. Right?
The key there was working together.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point
As
I'm
far
bringing.
as I can see.
But if we try to make each other behave like the other,
Other person.
yeah. So imagine if we were two stones at home, right? Or if it was just two bonfires, right? We would have had problems.
Yeah.
So I think it really is important. And Karen said, "Mama knows best." Nicole, men, we are seed planters, and women are cultivators.
Hey,
You know,
hey,
There it
hey.
goes.
That's a separate conversation.
You understand?
there's sort of different reactions and
Yeah.
responses, but
Yeah.
it is the nature of us, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, go ahead, Mark.
no, go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
I was gonna bring us back.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna bring us back.
But no,
Because-
that ain't back. That's all
No,
part
no,
of the
no, I think it-
conversation, right?
I think it's very interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Very interesting.
This is Mother's Day. We talking
And-
with things that mothers think about and go through in different phases. So that's good.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about the experiences of what has happened to us, and which is really great. And I wanted to kind of bring you back in, Karen, you know, around all of that perspective that you've just heard. And I think your boys are away from home now, I think you said earlier.
Yeah.
And it would be great to understand your feeling around that whole departure, you know, because we talk about early years, we talk about, you know, the challenges, but then suddenly they're gone.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Or you only be happy. That's possible too.
Late night supper coming. Late night supper is coming.
Oh, shoot.
So, you know, because I had the
Karen's live. She can't say.
because I had the experience of them being away for periods of time, it was okay. But them being away in this country with all that's going on, it brings on a lot of anxiety. So for different reasons, I like the fact that they're away, they're trying to find their own way, they're becoming a lot more independent. You know, I see, especially my oldest son when he came back after the first year, you know, just a sense of maturity. And you know, I'm like, oh, it's time to do laundry. She said, no, mommy, I'm doing it myself. I'm like, wow. You know?
Oh, that actually happens? Oh.
That actually happens. You know, he learned to cook. Yeah, he's matured a lot, and I'm waiting to see how the second one comes home and he'll be. But you know, it's good seeing them mature and become responsible, but it's a lot of anxiety. Wow. You know, every time my phone is always on. I'm accustomed to being on call for work, but you know, every phone call, every text, you know, I try not to miss any because it's scary.
You don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's scary sometimes. But it's good to see them maturing and all that you poured into them as a mother. You know, you seeing it come to life, and you're feeling pretty good about yourself as a parent. You know,
Nice.
Yeah.
And Natasha, I know you shared a little bit of the experience just now, but as a mom dealing with the kids, just an off the cuff question: what's the hardest experience or the weirdest experience you've had so far raising the kids?
I think my experience, the challenges are with boys. Boys are so different.
Right.
Boys take a lot of energy, and they challenge you. They are the ones that challenge me the most. Yes, David and Jared, they would challenge you because for me, I felt like in their discovery of themselves, in you try to teach them certain things, you know, in them finding themselves, they just want to explore and you know, have their own experiences as boys, and sometimes you wish you can just pull them back and say no, and you know, but you gotta watch them make those little mistakes that they make, and just hope that the foundation that you lay is solid enough, and that they will come back. And most of the time they come back and they recognize like what you were saying all the time. But boys they're a challenge, and they will tell you, well, you don't know how boys feel and how men operate, and even though you know you're still seeing them as your children, they in this adolescent stage, they think that they know what they gotta do, you know. And so that has been the challenge of sometimes you just want to listen, do it, but they're just gonna go do it how they feel like doing it. But eventually they get it together. Like,
I
Wow.
agree.
boys are different. Y'all are different. Like,
it's,
It's true.
it's so true, and I see that in my two boys. You know, it's like it's challenging, man. Very very challenging, and Sophie, you know, the last year must have been really interesting from your perspective, being a nurse. All of the uncertainty that has been around, and having a daughter with underlying health conditions, which we've been hearing a lot about all year round. What were those challenges like for you over the course of the last year?
Um, I was in shielding because of my daughter's underlying health condition. So, in terms of work challenges, I was supported because they were aware of her underlying health issues, and because I'm patient facing, so the risk is greater to me getting the virus and then taking it home, and then because of the low immunity with herself. So the trust supported me and the GP, and so I had a letter to say shield. So in terms of protection for her, I had that on board. So the only challenges I would say I faced was when she goes back out to school, or now she's back at school, the coronavirus is still present. There's no vaccine for children of her age as yet. So yeah, the risk is still great. But by God's grace, she's covered. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Indeed. Interesting as well, Karen.
Yeah.
Karen, you were talking about, the boys and stuff growing up in that environment in the U.S. under the current, what's happening. Do you think opportunity and potential, being able to go in different directions and stuff aside, do you think better growing up in Barbados or growing up in the U.S.?
So I think,
Hard
I,
question, I know.
yeah, it's a hard question. At one point, I thought I would return to Barbados to raise them, and
Why is that?
even why? Because I thought the educational system would have been better for them there.
Yeah.
Based on how we grew up. And then I live in Brooklyn, so there was a thought at one point, even of moving out of Brooklyn into a more suburban, you know. But I raised them. I think I did a we did a good job. My husband and I, my support here, and we were able to shield them from those experiences. I know those experiences that others have are real. And I every opportunity I get to support those causes out there, I do. But my boys have hardly ever experienced anything that would have that significant impact on them. So I I appreciate having raised them here, and I just, as I said, because of everything that's going on, it can change. It can change like that anywhere, but especially here. So I am always concerned about their safety. I gave them my car recently. I gave my 21-year-old, and I gave him my car. He's only going to be there another month. But I wanted him to experience having the freedom to get around. He's working at a mall.
Did that come with a discussion that is said that everyone has to have with a black child growing up in the U.S.? And how did that
Very.
feel?
It's scary. It's anxiety. As I said, the phone calls, whatever. It is very scary. It is psychologically. It's constantly thinking about what if, what if, what if. It can be traumatic. I'm going. Especially when you see other people being murdered or whatever out there. It brings on that trauma that what if, it's my child next time. But I think I pray for them constantly, and I think they have the potential to be anything they choose to be.
Mm.
And I just try to keep them knowing that they can come to us at any time, and
Yeah.
I give them the freedom to do,
Mm.
whatever is most fulfilling to them, and ask God to just protect them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
that's good. And Natasha, you mentioned as well, boys versus girls. So, as a mother, I'm wondering, is your mindset different when you're dealing with your daughter than when you're dealing with your sons? And why?
Yeah, I have to be different.
Okay.
Because boys, for me, I have found my big son, he is very protective of his feeling. You got to choose your words. He can
Mhm.
be defensive. He doesn't like it. You can't talk in front of people. You can't say certain things. The girl, you could just say, get up and do this. That's it. It's easier.
Mm,
Boys act like, why I got to do this?
Mhm.
This
mm,
and that. They gotta know why and sometimes it gotta be on their terms. That's another thing. I don't know if it's a man thing, but they don't feel ready to do something. It's on their terms. So yeah, sometimes I have to literally remember it's not the girl, it's the boy.
But do you feel you can have that conversation to help him connect with that emotional side that we were just talking about? Do
Mhm,
you feel
I
that
do.
you can have it?
Yeah, I do have those conversations.
Nice.
Yeah, and I see my boys cry. I also see them, pulling in, like when you have certain conversations
Mm.
with them, you see, I see their vulnerability. That's
Hmm.
it comes out, and that's what I want to see happen, becoming fathers, and when they become husbands, like, you need to know it's okay to have these conversations, even though sometimes it's frightening. And for them, you have to, the atmosphere has to be right. That's another thing, to have these conversations.
Mm, mm,
Hmm.
Mm.
true.
Sometimes you have to move
Timing,
them
timing.
Mm.
timings. You got to move them. It can't happen in the home. It got to be somewhere else. It's so different for the boys.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. No,
Hmm.
Mark, you were gonna jump in there?
no, no. I was listening very carefully to that because that whole point about timing. I've seen that so often with our two boys. When you have a conversation with them and who is present or what's the prevailing emotion, or those things mean a lot in boy context. You know, and
Hmm.
it will generally determine the type of response you are going to get. And
Hmm.
I've seen it change as particularly as Kyle has gone up through the years now, where he's now 18. It's a complete transformation. That whole thing about response is different. you know
Mhm.
the response time seem to elongate as they get a little bit
It does. It does.
older. Oh my goodness. But then it is, how do you start to determine the changes that you need to make? And so, obviously, from my side as a father and from my wife's side as a mother, what are the changes that we need to make to accommodate that transition that they're going through? Because that is oftentimes where I think the struggle can reside for us as parents, failing to transition as the kids go up. They're not still down here. you know
Right.
you
Right.
got to deal with them now up here as
Mhm.
potentially becoming the men that they're going towards. And sometimes I think that's a real challenge that we face.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
No, I
Yeah.
agree.
It is a challenge.
I agree. So,
Yeah.
so advice to new mothers.
Wow.
And maybe young mothers as well. Because one of my really good friends from school was a young mother. She, 17 and she had a baby, but she, as Sophie would say, she press on and push on, and did some great things now. She's still a good friend of mine today. What advice would you give to, mothers who may find themselves in that situation where the dad is seemingly that in himself feeling he's immature, can't deal with it, and he's gone off. Sophie, anything?
I am
Oh,
okay. I would say to my young self,
I'd be frightened.
I probably think, what would I say to my younger self then? Okay, I'd probably say to my younger self, um, think about the choice that we make. Yes, the choice that we make when we choose our partners have got a lot to do with it. The mental maturity of the individual is very important. But fast forwarding into you're now a single mother, surround yourself with people that have will encourage you to move forward. Not people that are going to sit there and sorry for you and tell you to go claim benefits because that's what it's there for. But people that can give you solutions to your problem, like to say, for example, okay, I'll help out with your child while you go back to school, or you can go do a couple of hours work in the evening. I'll have your child overnight. You can study. So you have to surround yourself with people that can motivate you and not feel sorry for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good advice.
Because even for my daughter, my daughter, she's got her underlying illness, but the way when she goes to the hospital, you would never be able to tell because I don't grow her to feel sorry for herself. I grow her to face every challenge that is out there. She likes to act, she likes to dance, she likes to sing. So I get her into everything that she wants to do. I said, do not limit yourself and don't let no one limit you. So take the limits off yourself and don't let anyone limit you. Because I never limited myself, to be honest. I push forward. So I encourage her to push forward as well. And I said, you need to, because I know she's got this underlying health issue. And at some point in life, it may affect her where in terms of holding down a full-time job. So I allow her to embrace the stuff that she likes to do, like singing and acting and playing the guitar, playing the piano. So I get her into doing that sort of stuff as well, because then she can branch out into that to make a career from it if she can't hold down a full-time job. So it's like I'm making her a well-rounded person. So it's like facing stuff head on, going forward and looking beyond the boundaries and the limitations that are there. Because I'm from Jamaica. We don't have social systems. We don't have a government that's gonna say, oh, stay home, we'll give you money, we'll pay your bills, we'll do this for you. No, we had to work. So that's the same way I grow my kids. Work for what you want, study hard, go to school, and stay focused. So that's it.
You know what? That's such a good point, because that's the Caribbean in you raising your children outside the Caribbean, but keeping that Caribbean mentality, right? And I think no, it's really good because when I think of the generation before us, perhaps their time when they came to the UK and US and different places, were so busy working to get ahead and to make things happen. That's some things that was probably what was lost. And in hindsight, when I look at what my mother was doing, that's probably what she saw because she was busy.
Yeah.
Even though so to keep the Caribbean way of raising me would have been hard. So go to the Caribbean and get that and then come back. So it's interesting to hear you speak about that because it's keeping that Caribbean mentality and attitude as you raise the kids, because that instills them with a fight that in this place they can survive. Because the three of us, we talk about this all the time as three guys who move from the Caribbean. And our conversations are very different, we recognize, from people who may have grown up here. There's just a different mindset in what we can do, what we can achieve, what we would allow to stop us, and that kind of stuff. So I think that's really great what you're doing there. So well done on that.
I mean, my daughter, my eldest, she's 18. She's at uni at the Montfort at the moment, and she's working. She's holding down a job and studying because she knows that there's nothing that is going to come easy for her. You know what I mean? She learned the value of money quite early, and she knows that if she wants all these designer gears, that she's going to have to work for it. But at the same time, I've prepared her in a way that she knows that you need to study and you need to stay focused, but you need to do a little work on the side to get what you need. Yeah, you
Yes.
don't need to claim benefit. You don't need to be borrowing or begging from anyone. And I'll help her out as much as I can. But for all the other stuff that she feels that she needs to have, she needs to work for it. And so she's doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's really good. And what about yourself, Karen? What are your thoughts regarding, you know, any person, mother who might be now coming into it, or who might be struggling, who are now trying to find their way?
For me, it's about making that child the most important things in your life. And in the early stage, they are dependent on you. They are looking to you for everything, and just making them feel like they're the most important things in your life. We all need time for ourselves, but when our kids need us, especially at the formative years, I think it will be to their benefit as we as mothers are always present for them. Yeah, to be present, whether it's for homework, for reading, for whatever, for doing activities, for just doing stuff together as a family. And what brings me joy is, I capture a lot of moments, taking those pictures and just having those memories to look back on as a family, just smiling and, remember when. And it just keeps us smiling, when we look back. So forming those memories and being present for the child, never dismissing them. We come in from work, we're tired, whatever, and children remember those moments. They affect them,
Yeah.
So trying our best to be present for them.
Wow.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I mean, Natasha, when you're looking ahead at your kids and the things that might concern you, not just from a Guyana context, I mean, even from just societal, when you see what's happening around you, what do you think are some of your potential concerns as a mother for your kids going forward? And how can they overcome? What would you tell them as far as how they can overcome that?
Let me start from a woman's perspective. What I would say to my daughter, and I always say to her, is that you are responsible for your life. Uh, because so I was socializing our grandparents and parents. It was like, okay, the woman, you're the caregiver, you're the homemaker, and most of the economic factor of the family and the home that was really entrusted into the man. I always say to my daughter that you must be able to sustain yourself uh, economically. You should not ask a man for anything that you can't give yourself. If he takes you out to dinner and you don't have the money in your purse to buy the meal that you want, you should not even demand it. That's how far I go with her, because I want her to know that I don't. You can live your life in such a way that you can be a victim, or you can live your life where you can be a victor. And so when
Amen,
once
sister.
once you can take care of you, I think it alleviates a lot of the problems. If you have a job and you can pay your rent, you can help take care of your bills, then you don't have to stay in those undesirable conditions. So that's something I always say to my daughter, that you must be able to sustain you, and don't even think
Interesting.
about, if I get a husband, I'll be better off. You make yourself better off. You go out there, you get qualified, you get the job, you do what you bring something to the table. That's what I like. You come with something to the table, but for my boys too, I teach them empowerment of themselves, because boys, even though we don't talk about it, boys experience domestic abuse. Men experience domestic abuse. It's not talked about. And I like to say to them, it is worse for a man when he's experiencing domestic abuse. If a man can't provide and that woman is the one going out there, some women don't know how to deal with that. And you don't want to be disrespected. You don't want to be humiliated. You don't want to be taken advantage of. So that's something that I teach them. But I also teach them that you must have a heart for others. I teach my sons empathy. Be empathetic. Put yourself in people's place. You have a little girlfriend, that's somebody's daughter. These are little things. The world is so cruel and it's getting darker. And so I teach them love and empathy and compassion. And no matter what you have, to stay humble. And if you have something that somebody else don't have, just know that it's a blessing, it's a privilege that God has given to you, and do not use it against people. Just be humble and care for people.
No, that is just tremendous advice, and so passionate and authentic. And listening to the three of you, it's a reminder of why we love mothers, and also the uniqueness of the Caribbean mother. Let's watch something together.
Caribbean parents feel they could cast out any darkness, heal everything with bush baths, baptisms, tea, licks, and more bush baths. Caribbean mothers would do anything to protect their children, would cover them in Vicks vapor rub to rub the flu out of their system, pin blue bags to their chest to ward off evil spirits, stick a spitty ball of thread at the center of their heads to keep away the hiccups, always have soft candle in the house, keep mauve medicine in the house, hold thanksgivings and burn sage to keep the good blessing flowing into the house. My mother did all of the above. Always kept her head above, taught me how to keep my head above the water. I can't write a collection of poems about my life, present and past, without putting into the spotlight the woman who helped me get past all the rough parts. My mother is an island, a matriarch. She held it down like she and the Greek god Leto pitched marbles. I wonder where she learned to be so good at bearing fists, at taking hits, how she became this titan. If that's what you evolve into after years of balancing the fate of two young girls on your shoulders all on your own, or if it's the result of constant fighting. My mother, a spiritual Baptist woman, who sent me to Catholic school, make sure I did first communion and confirmation, wrapped her burdens and her joys in the color white, in the frilled apron that hugged her waist, in the leather belt that bound her stomach, in the thick nest of head ties that crowned her head. If Medusa was anything like my mother, one look at her white cotton crown, and instead of turning stone still, you'll feel nothing but the urge to move regardless of what hands you've been dealt. See, my mother had that kind of Perseus effect too since I small. My dream was to accomplish everything she didn't get to, like go to school and build her dreams, because she was always building her siblings, and afterward she was busy building me. She used to bathe me and my sister in milk, put whitehead broom in the water, scrub our skin with St. John's bush that used to turn the water amber. I didn't need to understand the rituals. I knew that everything she did was because of love. I used to walk in the bedroom and find her on her knees, hands clasped, uttering silent plea bargains to the dark. I always assumed that this was how she kept us away from harm. I don't know who taught her these things. If her mother sat down and passed down the manual, if it was genetics, if she learned like me, by sitting and observing a warrior at work since I small, I trying to figure out the metrics. My mother, who never get mad a day in her life, who made us laugh till our stomachs hurt whenever she slipped a cuss because it sounded so comedic coming from her mouth, because she was the type of woman who would never utter any ugly, who covered my whole body in calamine lotion at least once, made me sap my eyes with my own pee that one time I got red eye, who carried my writing utensils to get blessed whenever exam time come, whom I could never repay for everything that she has done. My mother did it. Cast out darkness. She did it with bush baths and baptisms and tea and licks and more bush baths and love. And love, and love.
I like that.
Tea, and lips, and more bush baths, and love, and love.
I like that. That was good.
Love.
I like that.
I saw you smiling all the way through that, Karen. You recognize a lot of those things. Don't you?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Vicks, man, the Vicks. when she said the Vicks, my chest started to burn. It's like, oh. I just started to burn. My chest and my back started to burn me there just now, just from remembering.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's an honor. It's an honor when we, look at where we have arrived in our lives, and we can take a moment to positively look back at the foundations. Mm-hmm. You ladies have come today to celebrate Mother's Day with us, but no doubt you look firmly back into your foundation as really important for who you have become as a mother, and who you will become as a grandmother, because we haven't even touched that, right?
But we've given that
that's ahead of you.
We don't want to have that conversation now. Look, don't go too fast, man. Hold on.
But there's another transition, huh?
In time, I think they say.
Yeah.
In time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
As Mark was saying, it's been so fantastic having you guys here, to share your stories, your journeys, your ups and downs as well. And for being so open and honest as well. I think that's not to be underestimated. And I think sometimes that's what we need, these open, honest conversations, so that for the three of us here as guys, to hear what women are thinking, to hear your perspective on your relationships with men that did worked out and some that didn't, and what's not, so we can hear and enrich our lives more and how we deal with our partners as well. So that's been fantastic. So thank you so much for being open and being vulnerable as well. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Very good. And to the guys in the audience as well, let the guys know how you felt about today's conversation. Hit share, as usually always ask that people do that. So hit share just so that we can get more people across the region and in the diaspora as well into this conversation, so we can celebrate with our Caribbean mothers and add to that conversation as well. So please do that, and let the guys know, just thank the guys for being in the conversation today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So just one last thank you from me, really, and again, it's that word, authentic. Thank you for being so authentic and real, and in many ways helping us to recognize the challenges that you face as mothers. We may think we understand sometimes, but in reality, we don't understand completely. But it's always good to listen and to hear and understand how we as men and fathers need to, up our game and recognize the complexity of the burden that is often around family life and the role that we further need to play. So thank you so much.
Okay. Phil?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we talk a lot about what's different between men and women, but I'd like to come back to what's common as well. And we still have that common thing that we want what's best for our children as parents. We always do. We might do it in different ways, and sometimes it's nice to use that as an entry point for conversation. But what I liked about tonight was really remembering that everybody has very different experiences. Like I was thinking about my mother. I grew up. My father was always around. He was a minister as well. My parents are both still alive, and I took a lot from my mother. Like growing up, people always say I look like my mother. They said it was her favorite. If my brother and sister listening,
I can see that.
But we just had a really good, and I got a lot of my sort of sense of humor comes from her. So if you don't like my jokes, you could blame her. But it was good again to just hear your different experiences, and wish you all the best going forward. I think you're doing great jobs as moms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A little salute. Let's salute the moms there. Let's raise a glass. Phil, you
I just got water tonight.
That's all right. A glass is good. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us today and having a conversation. Well done. Happy Mother's Day. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Well, everybody in the Caribbean. So, oh no, Sophie's here. So enjoy the rest of your evening as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Thank you very much.
See y'all later.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. That's a good conversation.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Really love it. Really enjoyed it.
And experiences come into play quite a lot. I always tell people my way how I manage money and stuff. I learned a lot from my mother. She never talk about it, but you just observe it. You observe her as a single mother and what she had to do, what she did, that kind of stuff. She probably didn't even understand that I was actually taking in quite a lot as well. But I learned a lot from her where that's concerned, and just watching her navigate being a single mother, the sacrifices she made, understanding what she made, and being appreciative. And at the time, sometimes when you're growing up, you don't necessarily appreciate it, or it doesn't come out that way, but you really get to understand it as you get older. So to all the mothers out there, keep going. Trust me, the kids watching, they're gonna appreciate it later on. Trust me.
Yeah, that's such an important point. It would be remiss of me not to shout out my aunt, who I think I saw in the comments earlier.
I was there earlier. I saw her as well.
And, who played a very pivotal role in my life, and that point that you're making there, but what you see and what you absorb, a lot of the way that I live and the discipline that I have and the things that I commit to came right from her, because she instilled those things, and they're very, very important to me even to this day, and the things I try to pass to my kids. So absolutely essential.
That's a good point. I was reading an article this week on imitation, and that children tend to imitate adults when it comes to areas of uncertainty. And that was quite a charge as a parent. So, when it's unexplored territory, children will look to imitate parents or trusted adults.
Wow.
The only time they imitate peers is when it's a situation they've encountered before. Then they think this is safe. They don't look to their parents, but they will look to their peers to sort of copy their behavior in order to build social connection. But I do think it's really important. Sometimes as parents, we say, do as I say and not as I do, to remember, but I know you will do as I do.
Do as I do. Yeah. Yeah,
Indeed,
absolutely.
Indeed.
Wow.
And I think that's been great. And on Mother's Day, someone says Mother's Day is every day, and that's very, 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 very true.
Yeah, man.
But it's good to pause and have a conversation with our mothers and hear their experiences, what they go through. And as you were saying, Phil, different experiences.
Yeah.
Very different experiences, but all contributing to how we understand and how we grow and how we relate with our kids. And as guys, you learn from listening to the women talking as well on perhaps how I should relate to my daughters as well. So you learn. So it's always good to have these conversations,
Absolutely.
Always good. Guys, I see so many people. And Didi, I saw you there. Thanks for sharing your experiences. Child of Yah as well. Thank you for that. I like the name alone.
Yeah,
Michael,
man.
how you doing? So thanks for joining us there, buddy. As well, so a whole heap of people. Karen Douglas, thanks. Daphne Juiced as well. Hopefully they pronounced that right. Christopher, see you there. Arlene, Avril, thank you. You always bring different dimensions and conversations in. Thank you. We gotta get Avril on here, Avril.
Avril.
Reach out.
Avril.
Reach out.
I
Reach
let
out.
you know now.
Yeah, be coming.
Me coming. I telling you. So thank you so much everybody for joining us. And I saw you in there, Miss Prescott. Thank you for joining us. Saw you there as well.
Happy Mother's Day.
Kyle, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mummy as well. And Philip's mom. Happy Mother's Day, Phil. You go ahead.
Happy Mother's Day to
Happy
Nicole.
Mother's Day. Oh, yes, yeah.
Fire.
Fire. Happy Mother's Day to the. I take that as you know that name, Fire.
Fire episode, man.
Here comes the fire.
Here comes the fire. And the funny thing is, you ain't lying. That's the thing. As I think about it, actually, that's a apt name to tell the truth. I like that.
And anyone joining us for the first time, thank you very much for joining me Global today. We appreciate having you. I see quite a few people names there that I haven't seen before. So if you're new to our platform, please feel free to follow us across social media.
Connect
with you.
Most definitely. And guys, hit share as well. Let's get as many people into these conversations and seeing it. You guys were the great ones who were here to watch it live and to participate in the conversation, but let's get other people in as well.
No, definitely not a Kalash, dude.
No, that's a different connotation now.
Yeah.
You may have wicked there, Didi.
That's
You
a
may have
different
wicked
thing
there.
there. Mark, what we should go out with today, man? A celebration in the mothers. What do you think?
I think we should go with something from maybe go with something from Romaine, man.
All right, let's do that. Guys, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Until next time.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning, Romaine.
Mommy, you always a pray for me. Oh, I wish that you could know just how much you dear to me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now every day me a pray for you. Me a pray for you. Whoa, never make her stand. Oh, God, give her everlasting breath to enjoy my success. Watch the road where she trod. Oh, God, give her everlasting breath so she can enjoy my success. From the day when me born, we face so much sufferation. Me promise my mother from them time the better days must come. Something have to go on. She said, Romaine, just go and sing your song, but make sure you get an education. Me never frown, never get vexed. No time when me come home can't find food for now. High school graduation, the one pair of shoes me put it on. And although it leave, me still feel clean. She glad to see me achieve me dream. Take a look at me now. Your teachings and blessings are shown. Still I'm following the crowd. Me a live to make you proud. Never make her sad. Oh God, give her everlasting breath to enjoy my success. Watch the road where she trod. Everlasting breath so she can enjoy my success. Everything when me have by your own, I want buy you 100 home. Fly you out, come and Spain and Rome. You are a queen on your throne, mommy. I know that I can't repay for all that you've done for me. So I just a go and pray, pray for longer days, never make her sad. Give her everlasting breath to enjoy my success. Watch the road where she trod. Oh God, give her everlasting breath so she can enjoy my success. Hey, I'm praying to you, oh God. Never make her sad. Never make her mad. Make her glad and make her glad, yeah. Give her strength, oh God. Never make her sad, no tears, no. 'Cause she
The person who is the winner of this year's Digicel Rising Star is
so she can enjoy my success. Mommy, you always a pray for me. Oh, I wish that you could know just how much you care to me. Hey. And every day me still a pray for you. Still a pray.